So welcome everybody to DevConnect user group session for building an open agentic ecosystem. If you want to go to the next slide, Sandeep. So I'm Diana Gray. I'm the Senior Community Marketing Manager for America at UiPath. And as I mentioned, these sessions, these DevConnect sessions are something we started this year. It's really connecting the dev community or developer community with UiPath, the product teams, the marketing teams, and just making sure that you guys have access to really understand our technology, especially with agentic automation up front. And then I have with me two experts in their fields. I'm going to let them introduce themselves, but we have Sandeep and Masaki here today. So Sandeep, do you want to introduce yourself?
Certainly. Thank you, Diana. Hi, everyone. This is Sandeep Panda. I am part of the Product and Technology Alliances organization at UiPath within the product team. Our focus is building out the ecosystem, the UiPath platform ecosystem across the platform as well as agentic layers. I'll talk a little more about that, what that means. I personally have been working very closely with what we have categorized as AI partners. I've been in UiPath for almost 4 years now. Come from a consulting and technology business development background, but worked very closely with product teams and with technology partners to build out ecosystems in various different contexts. Masaki?
Yes. Hi, my name is Masaki Kumamoto. I am a solution architect at the UiPath incubation team. Our team worked with multiple global enterprise customers to push the boundary of agentic automation use cases. So we create prototypes of agentic automation use cases in variety of companies, and we are seeing very cool use cases everywhere. So I'm excited to discuss this topic today. Nice to meet you all.
Great. So I think with that, you can get started, Sandeep.
Sure thing. So the topic for today, we wanted to take an ecosystem perspective. I mean, I'm assuming most, if not all of you, are familiar with the UiPath platform and have been a part of the community. So for us, looking forward to what we have dubbed Act 2, which is building and scaling an agentic automation platform, helping customers succeed by taking automation to our agents to automation use cases. As we look forward, there is a critical element played by the ecosystem, and that's where my focus is. Masaki and I have teamed up with a number of different partner initiatives on building out specific integration points, specific scenarios to kind of further the cause. For today, I wanted to talk about three topics. The first is kind of give you a flavor of how we are thinking about the agentic ecosystem and how UiPath as a platform. I think you might have heard the term Switzerland, how we are I like the term open ecosystem more, but how we are fostering an open ecosystem so that our customers and developers can build on best of breed and bring it all together on the UiPath platform. The second topic, which Masaki is going to go deep into, is the role that orchestration plays in this, and he's going to showcase some hands-on demos on how we are orchestrating agents in long-running complex workflows. And the third is I'll take an example of a specific partnership or a strategic partnership that we have built over the past couple of years, which is with Microsoft, and how the UiPath and Microsoft ecosystems are working together to deliver value to our customers. I don't want this to be a seminar, so as we are going through, please feel free to drop questions in the chat. We will get to it either during the presentation or at the end. We will also have, I think, based on the content we have, we'll have time at the end for Q&A. But yeah, if feel free to also pause us at any time if there's a specific point you want us to go deeper into. I want this to be relatively conversational. Sound good? Awesome. So let me kind of start by stating the obvious. When we think about the enterprise agentic ecosystem, when we think about the enterprise agentic ecosystem, or enterprise agentic automation, what customers are looking to do is in applying agentic technologies to automation use cases there are kind of three pillars to it, each of them progressively more revolutionary than the first. The first is integrate, manage, and monitor AI agents within complex processes. This to me is the next step of how we have been leveraging AI in the platform in terms of document understanding, communications mining, process mining. So we have always had AI embedded in the platform. Agents are taking it to the next level and making these making these automations more capable. The second is a little more nuanced, but it starts bringing the revolutionary angle, which is evolving from task automation to end-to-end process automation. What we're seeing with customers is in using your classical RPA tools, they have been able to automate processes, but only in segments, because business processes by definition are complex. And as you, when you're thinking about RPA, you can automate processes that are relatively defined, deterministic, where you can define a step-by-step manner or simplistic decision points. What it leaves out is more complex decision points, in which case we have typically, raised the hand and said, all right, this needs to go to a person and addressed it through human in the loop. What this does is it creates some sort of people are always in the kind of in the bottleneck positions, and your throughputs often efficiency processes which require higher throughput are kind of bottlenecked by that. With with AI agents, we're able to evolve from these task automations to end-to-end process automation. And we'll talk about an example of a real customer who was able to achieve this promise using AI agents in an already automated process. And the third is streamlining the process management and driving business outcomes. Is one of the things that the unintended consequences of evolving from the second pillar, evolving from task to process automation, means you're kind of in autopilot mode for quite a few of these processes. They are running in the background. The agents are able to do a lot of the heavy lifting, but that also means that as a process owner, you now have a black box where you are getting inputs and outputs. And for those of you who have played with agents, you know that that's not always desirable. Agents make mistakes. Agents don't always give you the right outcomes. So building that management transparency so that as a process owner, you're able to drive business outcomes is critical. And that's where orchestration comes into play. With that, let me start with the first and a little bit of the second. Enterprise processes by definition are complex. Right? There is they span across modern enterprise systems like M365, Dynamics, SAP, Salesforce, ServiceNow. You have steps done in applications. There are user actions. More often than not, you'll need to download a report, do some data wrangling, get the fields back updated. You have legacy systems still. It's funny saying that in 2025, but mainframes are still out there. They're systems that are not likely to be replaced anytime soon because they're working fine for the most part, as well as desktop applications. Right. So there's a component that users need to do anyway. And the third is documents and emails. A lot of our business is still done through Outlook, through bills of lading and claim forms and financial statements. And in an enterprise context, and this is, I think, that one of the nuances to pick up on, if you take a web page and ask ChatGPT to summarize it, it does a pretty good job. But that's not your typical enterprise scenario. Right? That's a personal productivity scenario typically. In enterprise, the documents you tend to see are mostly semi-structured, more than on some unstructured, but mostly semi-structured. These are forms. They have specific formats, but there is also enough variability that you can't just always OCR your stuff in. There are annotations, there are comments, there are subjective fields in there. Ramnath Natarajan, who runs intelligent automation at Johnson Controls, he was with us at Microsoft Build this year, and we had a conversation about technology boundaries, right? In an enterprise like Johnson Controls, for instance, it has a history of M&A, it has a history of multiple IT projects, so there is a mishmash of IT assets that have built up over decades. So from his perspective, his number one ask was, you can't automate a process in isolation, no matter how good your agents are, no matter how good your robots are or tech platform is. You just cannot do it all just within one platform. Integrating across these technology boundaries is necessary for real business impact. And this is a sentiment, I quote him on this because this is a sentiment that we have formed our ecosystem strategy around. So let me talk about how UiPath looks at our agentic ecosystem or platform ecosystem overall. So there are three, the ecosystem is built with the philosophy that we promote customer choice. We help you build the right tools and the right solutions for the right problems. And there are best of breed technologies that are hyper focused on building those right solutions. So giving you the ability to choose the right elements to solve the problem you have and bringing it together to the UiPath platform. That's our approach to the ecosystem. And we do this across 3 layers. Let me start at the bottom here. Firstly, frontier models are evolving on a monthly basis today. We are not even talking quarterly or annual cycles like we did with most SaaS tech. Every month there is a major update. Every month it's doing something that's transformational. For those of you who have actually, let me see if I can go back to this. Can I get a show of hands to say how many of you have tried out GPT-5? Maybe virtual hands are okay. No. On Zoom. Right. So it's for those of you who have checked out and tried out GPT-5. I personally, for me, it was a bittersweet moment to see how much progress they have made in terms of in user experience, in reasoning. For me, not having to choose a model and put in a query and say, all right, let's, here's what I want you to do, and having it reason, think, execute, choose the right models behind the background. That was mind blowing. I love that. But at the same time, I realized there were a lot of things that 4.0 or even 4.1 could do very effectively. I could trust results I could get from it blindly, which kind of broke, right? So it's always this, as you're making these models better at certain dimensions, there's always going to be performance degradation in other directions. This was one of the learnings we've seen in the last 6 months, which means that a model that's working for your use case today, tomorrow may not be the right one. So we have in the platform, we are committed to bring the best and brightest of the models, make it available in the platform for you to choose for agentic, both for reasoning and for activities. And we do this across Azure OpenAI models, Anthropic, Google's Gemini class, Anthropic via AWS, as well as I don't know how many of you got the latest announcements of bring your own LLM capability that works through any third-party model host like Fireworks AI or Azure AI Foundry. So if you have a Mistral or a Llama model or a fine-tuned model that you have hosted on a third-party platform, as long as you are able to create an OpenAI API v1 compliant endpoint, you are able to bring that model into the platform. And this gives you the picture, kind of, we offer the best of breed out of the box, as well as let you bring your own and to address the long tail. But ultimately, you have the flexibility to pick and choose and enable whatever model you think is the right for the use case. The second, this is a very familiar story to you, industry tools and plugins. Our current connector landscape has evolved for orchestration. We launched MCP in preview, I think, is available in preview right now. We are working actively. We are part of the A2A. We are part of A2A community right now, and that's being worked on in our roadmap. So this plugin, tools and plugins ecosystem that was enabled by Connector is evolving, but we are continuing to build the best of breed here. 2 examples I would pick on are Slack and Teams, both of which have an autopilot plugin enabled. So the autopilot you have used on your desktop is now available on Teams and Slack both. So you don't have to switch interfaces when you want to use a UiPath automation, for instance. And the third is process orchestration. And orchestration, if you've heard Daniel, Arun, Graham, Raghu anytime recently, you have probably heard about orchestration. That is because it is such a central part of our strategy, as well as a keystone or a cornerstone to the value we deliver to customers. It is imperative that we provide business users the visibility, the transparency, the confidence to run AI agents. And the only way to do that is process orchestration. However, we recognize that not all agents can do all tasks. You may need a Crew AI or a LangChain agent to build a very specific custom scenario to augment UiPath. You may need to build a Copilot agent, Copilot Studio agent to address email triage or work within the Microsoft ecosystem. Being able to bring all of these into UiPath or process orchestration, Maestro, is critical. So we are building that side of the ecosystem. On that segue, again, process orchestration, like I said, is very critical to our strategy. I'll hand it to Masaki to talk a little bit in deep depth about that aspect. this is a logical transition point. Any questions, comments before we move on to that topic? Not Masaki, the floor is yours.
So I was okay on mute. Could you share the next slide for one moment? Oh, sorry. Andy, I will start sharing my screen after that.
All right.
Thank you. So as Sandeep mentioned, UiPath is taking the open agentic ecosystem. So we can call UiPath agent, of course, in the form of BPMN. We call it the UiPath Maestro. So let's say one of the part is going to be agent task. We can, of course, assign UiPath agent. Most of you guys have probably seen Agent Builder, UiPath Agent Builder. If you have not, there's a great collections of YouTube video on our channel. So I would encourage you to take a look at the agent building experience, what it looks like. It's pretty cool. A lot of customers are already trying, and some went to production. It's very user intuitive solution. But of course, many companies uses not only UiPath agent, but also Salesforce, Agentforce, Copilot, maybe some coded agent like LangChain or Clue AI. So the idea is we are kind of like Switzerland of these agent solutions. You can actually call any agent solutions through UiPath, Maestro Flow, BPMN Flow. And I would love to show how it looks like in the actual development screen. So, Sandeep, thank you for sharing your screen. I will start to share my screen now. Do you guys see the development screen?
Yeah.
Awesome. So what you guys are seeing is a UiPath BP agentic process creation view in UiPath Studio Web. Studio Web is where you can develop any kind of a automation project, regardless if it's agentic process or RPA, app, agent in one single screen. So you can manage everything in one place. This capability is still in private preview. So in 2025.10, you should be able to start building all the components in single solution. That solution, that capability is coming. Anyway, so the idea is you can build your whole end-to-end automation with using agentic process view, this BPMN diagram view, and each task is going to be RPA, agent, or human validation. For example, this lead, by the way, this is a loan origination use case in banking sector. And this particular part, the first part is going to be RPA, application, lead application document. We are using IXP, and you can pass obviously inputs, and the output is going to come back to the Maestro flow. So the idea is you kind of pass those data in between tasks, and then the main point is you can call any kind of agent, not only RPA. So for example, this analyze eligibility agent, this is a UiPath agent. You can obviously call the UiPath agent by selecting start and wait for agent. And you can select the deploy the agent in drop down. You can pass certain input and the output is going to come back. So you can make a logic on the Maestro side. And you can even do the same thing with LangChain agent. I will kind of talk about how you can call it. You can call this part is Clue AI agent. This one is Copilot through Power Automate, because currently Microsoft doesn't expose the Copilot execution endpoint, but UiPath and the Microsoft is working, so we can do even more smoother connection. So that's in the progress. But anyway, the point is you can call pretty much any kind of a agentic solution. So because I don't want to disturb this building view, I'm not going to edit here, but let's say I want to add new agent here. I can click this start and wait for agent, and I can select any UiPath agent that I deployed within this tenant. So I could do that, or I can select start and wait for external agent. These allow you to select certain agent protocol, certain agent endpoint, like Blue AI and the G Suite also have certain agent capability, and even Microsoft and Salesforce has it. And if you have an integration service connector, you can start executing it. For LangChain, you can actually deploy those Python code actually in Orchestrator. There's a SDK, you can do that. And once you publish the agent in Orchestrator, you start to see an agent entity in Orchestrator, like other agent entity, this one, NK analysis, this is UiPath agent, but this one is actually originally Python code. You can do that. You can publish those coded agent in Orchestrator, so you can start calling as if normal agent by selecting this start and wait for agent. So it's pretty cool. The benefit of using BPMN is not only at the development time. Once you publish it and you start using it, you start to see many benefits. So this is a UiPath Maestro view, where any agentic process entity, a published entity, you can now start being able to see the monitoring view. We have a bunch of process already deployed here, so that's why you see a bunch of process. But the one I want to kind of deep dive is this long origination and review one. So let's get into it. So this process got triggered many times already. That's why you see a bunch of instances. You can translate instances same as transaction. So currently there are 81 transactions here, and you can see how many times each tasks are executed, how many times it failed, how long it took for each process is. All those information can be overlaid on top of BPMN you developed with UiPath Studio Web. And then you can even have a monitoring view to see kind of like heat map style and some business data point. I can even do the filtering based on certain variable. So it will allow you to have kind of BI function, business intelligence, to identify bottleneck. The heat map is for the average duration time. So you can see, okay, this human approval part is taking longer time, which makes sense because people tend to take more time than agent or robots. But this will allow you to find the bottleneck. And if you want to do even deeper dive, you can click this optimize view. And we are using process mining capability to first collect the Maestro log, and you can even pull certain system logs and aggregate those information to identify certain bottlenecks within your process. And we even use AI capability to generate some certain improvement suggestion on dashboard. So you can do that. And then as a COE, you can even interact with ongoing processes. So let's see what I mean by that. So these blue circle means those instances are currently running. So there are a bunch of running instances, and I can actually take a look at what's going on while it's running the process. So immediately you can see this process is at the escalation, like human validation task. And not only that, you can see you can see all the actions this BPMN has taken previously. So if you click this LangChain agent task, you can see what kind of call was made. And if I want to go even deeper dive, I can go to this open job link, and it will open the exact job task view in Orchestrator. So you can see all the trace even. And the cool thing about LangChain agent is if your LangChain agent is connected to LangGraph, Langsmith, you can see this flow diagram generated by the code. So this will allow you to have better understanding of what's going on even further. You can see the logs, and the same can be say that for other tasks like even RPA. You can dig deeper by clicking the open job. As an RPA developer, you probably know it used to be a bit hard to dig down certain process, especially if you have multiple processes calling each other. We didn't have a good way to make a relationship in between within Orchestrator. But now, because Maestro kind of aggregate all the information in one single canvas, it's going to be so easy to manage. And the other part is escalation review part. This one is currently we're using Action Center. So you can see what kind of a task was generated, who is working on it, real time. And you can even open the exact action item, to see what kind of action was made to who. So this will allow you to have better understanding of what's going on in the process. Pretty cool. By the way, if you have never seen Action Center / Action App, you can make this kind of human validation action with low code, no code application user interface building experience. So I highly encourage you to look into it if you have certain process that requires human validation. Yeah, I guess that's it. That's what I wanted to show today. I believe there are some questions here. Thank you for the question, Jim. How many agent unit does an agentic process this complex consume per run? Great question. So I will give you a short summary of how the license works, but I would encourage you to reach out to the account executive anyway, because depending on the situation, things might change. But in general, there are two ways to consume agent unit. So for the people who have never heard of this concept of agent unit is a new license SKU UiPath has. By having agent unit, you can start using UiPath Maestro, this BPMN agentic process flow, and the UiPath agent, those two things. And there are two ways to consume agent unit. One, this Maestro will consume 5 agent unit per run. So if I go back to this process, let's say this has triggered 81 processes, transactions, or more correctly, instances. This means it consumed 81 times 5 agent unit has been consumed. So approximately 405 agent unit. There's a more granular detail, but you can think 5 agent unit per transaction for now. That's one way. And the other component is every time you call agent. This one, it will consume 1 agent unit per large language model call. The reason why I said 1 large language model call, not agent call, is because 1 agent could call multiple large language model calls sometimes. So in this example, this analyze eligibility agent in this transaction, it called 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 large language model call. So this means this specific task consumed 5 agent unit. It could have been 3, it could have been 6, depending on the input. It changes the behavior. So we don't know until agents execute how many large language model call. But in this case, it consumed 5 agent unit for this task. So this, as a summary, because one transaction consumed 5 agent unit, and because this task, agent task consumed another 5 agent unit, it consumed 10 in total. That's how it works. But again, there are a bit more granular detail that I haven't covered today. If you're interested in it, I would encourage you to reach out to the UiPath account executive for the detailed discussion. I hope that it made sense. Any other questions? I would love to hear your thought, if this could be interesting, if you guys are using coding agent, if you're using some other low code agent and facing any issues, challenges to organize, orchestrate. Would love to hear feedback.
Yeah, and you guys can feel free just to take yourself off of mute. This is really just an interactive session, so feel free to do that if you want.
Thank you for the question, Micho. When we pass a large string from an RPA process to downstream agent, there is a limit on the size of input argument in the agentic automation system. Will leading from storage bucket bypass the limitation? Great question. Short answer, yes. I sometimes do that method. So what Micho is talking about is agent builder agent definitely has a limit for the input token size. I think it was 10,000 token, something like that. One workaround, if we want to pass large string, is I usually create a RPA process that kind of read, let's say the text is in PDF, that reads PDF text, and I add that tool, RPA process, as a tool of the agent, and I describe, hey, use this tool to extract PDF text instead of passing the text through input argument. With this way, you can bypass the agent input limit threshold, because the agent has a bigger token limit during the reasoning steps. So yes, short answer, you can bypass by using RPA, or you can put in the storage bucket and call RPA to read those texts through RPA. Great question. Vlad, another question. So one maestro in transaction, 5 AI unit. It's an agent unit. There's 2 different SKU. There's a AI unit and agent unit. What I was talking about today was agent unit. AI unit is for document understanding, communications mining, those capability. Agent unit is something different. And that's flex licensing model, but we heard a lot of feedback from customers. So we now have platform unit capability that basically we merge all the consumable license into one bucket. We can have that kind of license model too, right? Since this year, mid this year. But yes, if we are talking about agent unit, yes, what you're saying is right. 5 agent unit for 1 Maestro transaction, and the 1 agent unit for 1 large language model call. That's correct. Another question from Mitchell. 128,000 is GPT for all context window lengths. Will we be able to do that many tokens in UiPath class to large language model. Yes, I think we currently the token size is following whatever the model is saying. Let me quickly check actually. But the topic I was talking about was specifically for the input of the agent, which has restricted amount. I think it was 10,000 token. So although agent itself might have larger token limits, agent always have certain token limits for the input. Because starting the development of the agent, we realize if we increase the too much token for the input, the behavior will not be as good. So that's why we have that kind of a threshold. So for all, we are exposing 16,000 max token. And depending on the model, it changes the amount. I think Gemini has more. Yeah, Gemini has 65,000. Miguel, question from him. Regarding Action Center licenses, there is the need for Action Center username license. Short answer, yes. How do you create the app for Action Center? Is there any app unit skill we should buy also? Great question. Short answer is to develop action app, you just need an automation developer license. That's it. You don't need an Action Center user license for the developer side, but for anybody who use the deployed action app, you need Action Center user. So as a summary, automation developer for license for the developer, app developer, and the Action Center user license for Action Center user. Jonathan, can you leverage Azure AI Foundry in Maestro? If so, would it be under bring your own model or just as coded agent?
So
go ahead, Sandeep.
I can take this one. So for any model in AI Foundry, as long as you can create a OpenAI APIs, OpenAI API compliant endpoint, you can bring it in as bring your own model. This is again, going back to the question on licensing as well. If you bring your own model, it will be slightly cheaper from a UiPath cost perspective, knowing that you will incur those costs on a model. So that's a simpler model that is available right now. We are working on bringing Foundry coded agents, similar to coded agents in Maestro. That is on the roadmap. And I should say very near-term roadmap. In fact, I would encourage, if you have a scenario or a use case that is blocked for this, please reach out to Masaki and I, and we can help you unblock it.
Yeah, I got excited when I saw the question. Yeah, and a great point. Actually, I haven't tested, so I wouldn't say 100%, but open source AI model that you deploy in Azure AI Foundry should be able to leverage as backend of an agent, as Sandeep mentioned. What currently I'm sharing is an AI trust layer, so you can connect to your own large language model I think OpenAI compliant large language model endpoint should be able to connect through here, which we should test. But Microsoft Azure OpenAI, definitely we can do it.
There are some last mile kinks here, but solvable kinks. Again, working on resolving right now. But like Masaki said, this is available right now. I think there are the couple of kinks arise from how Azure AI Foundry publishes their endpoint. I think there's some discerning on because they have multiple services behind a single endpoint, kind of discerning that you may need to do some custom stuff today. But yes, it is feasible.
And the question from Muhammado, similar question. What if I fine-tuned a large language model based on Llama? Can I utilize that using Bring Your Own model? Yes, you can. You can deploy in your private cloud server, and if it's listed here, you should be able to do it. It has to pass the automatic test when you deploy, when you save it, it will run automatically. And if you face any issues, please reach out to UiPath support team, because this is a new function. We would like to kind of detect it if you guys are facing any issues. I recently encountered some issues, and the engineering team is currently working on that. But the other function, yes, it should work. And the Muhammad, you said, so it can be used using OLAMA. Yes, as long as the endpoint, large language model endpoint, is compliant with OpenAI V1 standard, it will work. It is supposed to work. But again, if for some reason it doesn't work, please reach out to us, because we have to cover every single edge cases, and we will work with you if it doesn't work.
Yeah, it's as good as the endpoint spec is. This is an interesting point to me, or interesting thing to me, where we are as an industry, right? A lot of these protocols, I think we had a question about A2A before, for instance. These are rapidly evolving, right? These protocols are still in their V1s or V2s. So I think, especially when interoperability is involved, for things that we haven't done necessarily, you may run into a kink here or there. But like Masaki said, this is what we are actively working on demonstrating every single one that our customers, at least the patterns that our customers are asking for. If you do run into something, please reach out. It's likely a something we have seen elsewhere that we can help you address.
I have a follow-up question regarding the two questions I asked in the chat. I find it easier to talk. Can you guys hear me? Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, so I asked a question about when RPA passes a quite large string to a downstream agent, the limitation on the size of the input argument for the agent at present. So my concern is, my question to you is, you introduced some good ways, and one of the ways I played with is reading from a storage bucket. But the problem is that process will increase the latency, right, in the process. Already quite long process to process one task. Any plan to relax that limit down the road?
No, I haven't heard such a idea yet. It sounds like there's some engineering issue if we increase the input, so that's why we set the threshold. But if that's a critical path for your solution, Do you engage with technical account manager, or do you have sales engineer you can work with
Would love to.
on your account?
Yeah, I would love to get some information from some highly technical people from your group. Is because the most of the information that I'm helping with the client with UiPath stuff right now is the string is you read from a text file or you read from PDF, read from email, then usually it's very large. But when you chunk it, when you split the document, the problem is that document is already very unstructured. The splitting of it would cause more difficulty for the large language model to interpret the content. So it is much easier to pass the whole document into the agent. And the reason I bring up this, that's one reason, right? The other is after my research with the context window for GPT-4o, is 128K, right? And then if we continue to limit this because of some engineering consideration, my concern is, will this make the agent less powerful or less expressive than if we were to talk to large language models directly? And instead of using the agent, because right now, as one of you mentioned, very powerfully at the beginning of this call meeting today, is large language models with GPT-5.5, it is doing a lot of thinking, right? Some of those thinkings can be like 1 minute or 2 minutes. And it's doing all that. One of the ways it's doing all that is because of the information it can take in, as much information as needed. But if we cut it through doing multiple calls instead of one call, sometimes it's do disservice. That's what I found out. But anyway, I don't want to take all the time here, but those are some of the two most difficult challenges I'm faced with and today with client work.
Yeah, thank you for sharing the information. Yeah, I agree. Like as we have more use cases, we would see more use cases with larger context that requires larger context window. And I forgot to mention, so multimodal is coming. So right now you can only pass certain primitive data like a string, array data, or number. But I know end of this month it will be multimodal function is in preview mode. So you can pass the PDF document as an Agentic directly. I don't know if we will increase the token limit before that. But the one thing I can say is as we have more a larger like a latest GPT model or large language models, because that model, their model tend to have larger context window, we should be able to increase the input context window following that. So I predict that will be resolved as we have a more sophisticated large language model. But yeah, thank you for the feedback. What I want to confirm is, do you have sales engineer or technical account manager you work with daily
No,
from your side?
I'm not sure. I've been helping clients with other RPA tools and other and AI, Gen AI, Agentic AI solutions until this May, and that's when I got this UiPath related Agentic AI project.
So you are working in partner company?
Yes.
UiPath partner?
Yes, if it would be really helpful if at least I want to clarify, so I don't spend all that time trying to figure out debugging or, this took me several hours to debug to find out, oh, this is because of the size limit. So when I pass those large string to the downstream agent, what the current system is doing is it just ignore it instead of giving any useful message. So I would really highly appreciate it if I can focus more on helping the client being more productive instead of me trying to figure those out without a document. Or I would really appreciate it. Yeah, thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, great feedback. Thank you. Yeah, I will
Thank-
pass along the feedback to the product manager. Thank you.
All right. I guess we have a couple of minutes left. So let me touch on one last thing. I think, Dana, you are going to share the deck. So
Right.
there's some content here about what Masaki showed when UiPath agents invoke Copilot agents. There's bidirectional integrations here and a couple of demos. But for the moment, let me just talk about in some details and scenarios. I provided some context on this, on how Microsoft and Copilot Studio and UiPath agents working together, a multi-agent workflow delivered value at a customer. So I wanted to make sure I covered that. So the case study with Johnson Controls is they had about 500,000 emails annually from customers querying about invoices, missing invoice, payment date heads up, and they had 7 or 8 categories. And they already had automations. They were aggregating these invoices into a Dataverse. They were extracting information with direct query to Azure OpenAI API, and they were classifying these requests and then triggering UiPath automations for each of these for follow-up actions. The challenge was they were hitting a glass ceiling due to firstly, classification had only a 55 to 65% accuracy. Right? It kind of topped out there. Beyond that, it found it hard to classify, especially as the emails got multi-threaded or attachments. OpenAI, the direct OpenAI query topped out there, and 20 to 25% of the invoices didn't have proper data extracted. And the hardest hit was disputes. Oh, this invoice is wrong, was a completely manual process. The automation sort of gave up on that from get-go. So what they did, they essentially looked at Microsoft and UiPath work together. We helped them. In fact, Masaki was involved in that. He was the architect on the UiPath side. We helped them build a UiPath agent for extraction, and kept a Copilot agent for the vendor communications, because a lot of that was already built in Microsoft ecosystem. It had Power Automate automations. So our advice to them was, look, don't take a rip and replace mentality, because that's going to take forever. By elevating the processes they had on the platforms they had, Masaki, they went from what, zero to POC in 2 weeks and production in another week. So they, in a single region pilot, they saw a 10% improvement. They saw improvements by Copilot Studio agent and categorization. And the entire integrated process enabled end-to-end touchless processing, which was their goal. Overall, 18,000 hours in annual time savings, 500%. I mean, we talked about costs earlier. It became an expensive process, but when they were able to take hundreds of thousands of invoices into the background, into end-to-end touchless processing, where people had they took time, they took effort, someone had to manually review, do matching. They saw overall 500% revenue or ROI. So this to me is a good example. And this was pre-Maestro, I would say. One of the missing pieces here was building that end-to-end orchestration, which would enable more processes to go in the background. Because right now what they're doing is erring on the conservative side. They don't want something to go in the background. They don't have visibility to. So with Maestro, this has a potential to go increase even. But this gives you an example of a case where a multi-agent workflow was able to add value or deliver value in a real life customer scenario. With that, I know we are 2 minutes over. We'll happy to continue the conversation on chat for a couple of minutes more, but and the deck will be available. Again, I'm happy to answer any questions offline as well.
Yeah, and then also everybody, if you enjoyed this session, want to know more information about these topics, just let us know. It's really helpful for us to know, what you guys want scheduled and how you want to work with our teams.
And I will quickly answer Jonathan's question. So his question is, how will multimodal agent affect the DocPath and the DU for processing PDF? Great questions. And the short answer is they will coexist. So the document understanding slash, I don't know if you have heard IXP solution, Intelligent Extractor Processing. It's a newer version of a document understanding. They are great for specifically document extraction and even a bit of classification. And you can have out of the box monitoring view, and the testing is easier because you have labeling sessions. So it's easy to kind of optimize for extraction. But sometimes agents additional tool call is going to be useful. So some customers use agent to extract certain document or email information, so that it won't have nice, labeling session or something. So they both have advantage and disadvantage for the information extraction. What we are going towards is IXP/DU is going to be able to called by agent directly. So now you can have both benefit. Agent calling certain IXP model, while the agent has multiple other tool mechanism to make the output accuracy even better. So that's the direction we are going.
Great. And with that, I think we're going to have to wrap it up for today. But again, you guys can reach out to me if you want to hear more on these topics. Thank you, Masaki and Sandeep, for today's presentation. And I will get that posted. You guys should be able to see that recording tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Bye.
Bye.